I could see the attributes window? I finally understood a few things that didn't make sense. The reason I hadn't been able to see my attributes window was due to the fourth wall. The fourth wall protected me from other beings, but at the same time, it was a skill that isolated me from myself. Checking the attributes window. The system configuration is unstable. Some skill names and levels are limited. Then, for the first time, I saw my attributes window. Personal information. Name, Kim Dokja. Age, 28 years old. Constellation support, none. Modifier, the ugliest king, tentative. Private attribute, 8 lives, hero. Scenario, ... Before the attributes window was fully revealed, the screen crashed and sudden messages emerged. Some constellations are approaching your mental barrier. At this moment, I wanted to say, oops. Maybe the constellations had been looking for this opportunity for the day that my information was revealed to the world. The constellations of the nebula Vetus are approaching you. The constellations of the nebula Olympus are approaching you. The constellations of the nebula Papyrus are approaching you. The constellations who sought to improve my existence started to forcibly open my mind. At this moment, the exclusive skill Fourth Wall is reactivated independently of your own will. Exclusive skills, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint level, ? Bookmark level, ? Character list level, ? Fourth Wall level, ? Level, ? Overall evaluation, you. A lot of the information was hidden by censoring. As numerous bricks piled up, strong sparks that concealed my information appeared. The constellation Founder of Humanity is groaning. The constellation Poked Out His Eyes is covering his eyes and stepping back. The constellation Scorpius Goddess steps back while protecting her tail. Some of the constellations approaching you are struck and have retreated. The countless letters rotated reliably. The fierce sparks of the fourth wall were protecting me from the constellations. The guy who was fighting me a while ago was now emitting a fierce aura towards the constellations. The fourth wall is baring its teeth towards the star stream. I looked at the fourth wall. The last thing I heard was a message from a well-known constellation. The constellation Secretive Plotter is smiling at you. The message was distinctively different from the other constellations. Surely he didn't see my information in such a short period of time. Even if he didn't see it, he wouldn't have been able to check everything. I couldn't confirm all the information despite opening the attributes window. The sparks calmed down and the wall turned towards me again. The fourth wall is angry with you. I stared at the wall. For a long time, I thought this wall was the boundary between the novel and reality. The wall allowed me to adapt to the new world and show unusual judgment in terrible situations. However, once I asked about the actual identity of the wall, I couldn't come to a conclusion. The only thing I could be certain of was that this wall had protected me for a long time. There were a few crises, but I overcame them due to the presence of this wall. It was thanks to this wall that I could arrive here. I brought my hands towards the letters making up the wall. I'm sorry. The fourth wall is shaking. The strange texture of the letters wrapped around my fingers. The fourth wall felt like this. The letters of the wall clung to my hands like Dr. Fish, Red Gata. They seemed to be licking and biting me. It was a feeling that couldn't be clearly explained. There was no analogy for it. The fourth wall was like a wet puppy, an abandoned child, a teenager who didn't listen, etc. The fourth wall was like me. Then a sentence appeared on the wall. Kim Dokja is an idiot. The sentence seemed to have been written by a child just learning Hangul. It wasn't a story related to me or the world. It was the words of the fourth wall. I smiled at the wall. The fourth wall wrote unrecognized characters as if it was confused for a moment. Then, after a while, it wrote a sentence again. Kim Dokja thought, the fourth wall is in existence with its own will as well. It was starting again. There were the words written in brackets from the fourth wall. However, the fourth wall's tone is too static compared to that. Then who wrote those words? If this really is a wall, there is something else in the wall. Stop reading other people's thoughts. The fourth wall is turning its head away. The fourth wall is telling you not to forcibly turn it off again. I kept talking while touching the fourth wall. I know, Instead, I have a request. The fourth wall is looking at you. I took a brief breath before saying, "Give me back my mother." The wall shook briefly, as if to judge my words. Then a sentence appeared on the wall. "Kim Dokja hates his mother." That's right. Kim Dokja knows what happened with his mother. He knows what his mother has been through, the life she lived, and what she was hiding. Just because he knows doesn't mean he understands everything. Yes. Because of this, Kim Dokja still hates his mother. This is what human emotions are like. There is no magic that will heal all wounds just because someone else has a deep wound as well. You have great insight. I agree. Thus, Kim Dokja can't understand it himself. Why is he trying to save his mother? I can't explain. ... Not everything can be expressed in sentences. I quietly looked at the wall and said, "I don't have much energy left. Please help me, I'm asking you." The fourth wall was silent for a long time before displaying the following sentence. Kim Dokja? Could an existence who already entered the wall come out again? I didn't know if it was possible or not. Still, I had to try. Then the wall started to move. Something was vomited out from the wall. There were numerous letters. The letters gathered to become words, and the words came together to become sentences. The sentences gathered into paragraphs, and the paragraphs gathered again to become a story. The story soon formed a person. I embraced my mother who was lying in the letters. Then I told the fourth wall, "Thank you." The fourth wall shook and started to disperse. Sleepy. Little by little, the surrounding space was broken. The constellation Secretive Plotter is snapping at the Great Old One spying at you. The darkness of the outer universe was clearing away. Time and space were broken, and the surrounding scenery changed to the second floor of the Dark Castle. Then the subsequent messages appeared. Your Dark Castle ranking has changed. Your current Dark Castle ranking is second place. You have met the hidden goal of the main scenario. You are eligible to participate in the last scenario of the Dark Castle. 2 days had passed since the battle on the plains. All mortals lost their fighting spirit in the face of a god. The forces of the Wanderers and the forces of Paradise. In a sense, the powerful despair brought peace to all of them. The commanders of the Wanderers and the commanders of Paradise settled the dead and cleared up the situation. The unnecessary disturbance disappeared, and the second floor of the Dark Castle was slowly gaining stability. The rankers were slowly selected to go up to the next floor, and people agreed to entrust them with the future of the Dark Castle. Most rankers were gathered in front of a small coffin. It's his job to die all the time. Kim Dokja died as soon as he came back from defeating the Outer Gods. He fought against such a mighty being that his companions thought it was natural. Jung Hee once said, "Will he be alive again tomorrow? Last time it also took 3 days." The group had adjusted to Kim Dokja dying and weren't as shocked. Yu Sung-ah bit her lips and wondered, "By the way, did we need to put him in a coffin? Even the dead should be put in a bed." Jung Hee-won made an excuse. The party members stared at Kim Dokja's coffin with different meanings. Lee Hyung-sung was watching with a reverent gaze. Shin Yu-sung looked guilty, and Yu Sung-ah was confused. Then, "By the way, Master, I thought you would go to find the hidden pieces." At Lee Ji-hee's words, the party members all looked from the coffin towards a certain place. Yu Jung-hyuk frowned at the gazes and replied, "Now the only hidden pieces in the Dark Castle are worthless." "Then the reason you came here..." "I need Kim Dokja to move to the next floor." Aren't the two of you very close these days? A few days ago, I saw..." Yu Jung-hyuk's impression became grim, and the cowardly Lee Ji-hee closed her mouth. Jung Hee-won tapped Lee Ji-hee and rebuked her. Stop teasing Yu Jung-hyuk, she. Don't disturb the two of them." "Oh, fine." "In addition, you know the reason why he came here without asking. It's the same for everyone." At these words, the faces of the party members became solemn. They looked down at Kim Dokja's coffin. Jung Hee-won opened her mouth again. "He isn't afraid of death because he will live again." Just because he had multiple lives didn't mean he should keep sacrificing himself for others. Shin Yu-sung touched the surface of the coffin. "If it wasn't for Dokja Hajashi, we would have died by now." No one doubted it. Lee Hyung-sung, Jung Hee-won, Lee Gil-young, and Lee Ji-hee as well. All of them had been saved by Kim Dokja. Lee Ji-hee sighed. I'm not saying this to be cheesy, but if I had 2 lives, I'd probably give one to Ajashi. I'm afraid he won't receive it because you only have 6 points in affection. This kid! In any case, aren't we all the same when it comes to the garter belt? The group smiled as they watched Lee Ji-hee and Lee Gil-young clashing. It was an unbelievable sight when people were crying with frustration at the bloody battlefield 2 days ago. Yoo Jin-hyuk watched them from a distance. Kim Dokja appeared, and his plans changed a lot. The easy scenarios became difficult, and the simple stories became complicated. Those who were supposed to die survived. Yoo Jin-hyuk looked down at his hands. Perhaps among those who were supposed to die, Yoo Jin-hyuk himself would be included. Yoo Jin-hyuk thought that it was very strange. This landscape could be made by a person who wasn't a regressor. This regression might be better than any other round of life that he had lived. It was terribly complicated in his life. By the way, isn't that fate over now? Dokja died. Lee Ji-hee asked, and some companions replied. That's right. That reminds me. Since he was supposed to die because of a loved one, isn't fate fulfilled? He died because of his mother. Yes. Why didn't I think of his mother? The voices were boisterous. Yoo Sung-ah watched Yoo Jin-hyuk standing in the distance with a complicated face. Yoo Jin-hyuk also had a thought as he faced the eyes. The fate isn't over. There was the variable called Chuk Jung-young, but the nebula weren't that simple. The nebula knew about Kim Dokja's resurrection, thus the fate could never end in this way. In addition, the nebula were angry with Kim Dokja and were likely to maliciously engage in realizing the fate. Above all, the big hurdle that was the next scenario would soon arrive. Thus, Yoo Jin-hyuk needed to choose. He silently stared up at the sky. It was like he was looking for something there. After a while, his gaze returned. The constellation ... is looking at his incarnation. The constellation ... It was the third regression, but Yoo Jin-hyuk still didn't know who his sponsor was. It was the source of the regression and the one who made Yoo Jin-hyuk suffer a terrible tragedy. Yoo Jin-hyuk took a deep breath and opened his mouth. Sponsor, I have to ask you something.